You're listening to Countercurrent, the podcast about business, family, and freedom. Hosted by Aaron Smith and Jack Hudson.
We're back with episode 7. Today's hot take, I'm going to kick it off with managers are not always leaders and vice versa.
Yeah, I've known more than a few that are not great leaders at all.
Yeah, I think managing and leading are two completely different skills.
What's the example that you have?
Well, I think a lot of people think if they're good at bossing people around, they're good leaders. And I don't think that's true at all. I think leaders, more often than not, just empower you and trust you to do your job. And if you're led well, you don't require somebody to lay out the step-by-step.
I just realized that I have my sticker that my daughter gave me this morning.
That's good.
This is a Frozen sticker.
From Parker.
From my 3-year-old. So this is good. I'll put that as my reminder right here. We're in the full Elsa stage, so I don't know what this character is here, but yeah, it's one of the princes.
Yes.
But going, sorry. Well, welcome to Life with Aaron. ADD hits. Yeah, managing versus leading. I mean, I can think of a lot of examples in my own life how I've been led well, and then there are times that I think that managed very poorly. I think back to the example I gave early on where I had to work in food service, retail, and physical labor before, and I was very much managed at that state. Now, I was also 17, 16, 15, so it's not like I was I probably should have been micromanaged at that point. But I think that there are a lot of people that get put into management positions when they're not ready to either, and they don't know how to lead. And so that's where I think micromanagement definitely comes into play.
Absolutely. Yeah. I am. So I just told you, I was starting listening to Amy Poehler's new podcast yesterday, and she talked about how like one of her biggest pet peeves in a work environment is when there's like nobody clearly leading the group, no strong leader. And you're faced with basically two choices when that happens. Throw in the towel and just like zone out and say, who cares? Clearly nobody else does. Or then you kind of try to take the lead yourself, and then you're stepping on somebody's toes, and everybody's like, who is this person? And I realized that I absolutely hate that as well when there's no clear leader. And I struggled with that, like at Butler all the time.
Well, Butler High School, middle school, I know that we were talking about this yesterday too, unrelated. I hated group projects in school because I was inevitably always the one that ended up doing the work, which drove me bonkers crazy. But that's where, that's a great example, not like even outside of the workplace, where if there's a vacuum of a leader, usually someone steps up to take ownership of it, and it can go one of two ways. One, they end up doing all the work, which happens a lot in the workplace as well. But it's hard in that case when you're on a level playing field. How do you inspire folks you're working with to come together and do a hard project? Or when you're in the workplace, how do you do the same thing? Manage a team of people that may either be equal to you or below you as well. Yeah,
I think it's structure is important, and sometimes titles are important. That's why I always got irritated when I'd have professors that was like, "Now just see what leader presents themselves throughout the course of this." I'm like, this is going to be fun. It's going to be great.
Promise you I'm not going to do that.
These two haven't talked to me about anything for 3 months now, and it's due next week. So
we, for those of you listening, we're actually in the middle of a group project in our office right now. I'm getting ready to take a week off and go to Florida. And I tasked everyone in the office to take care of my office, not my office plants, my plants from home. I am an aspiring botanist. I am horrible. If you look at my yard, there's not a plant that's alive. I actually just ripped out all the old plants over the weekend and planted new plants. Thank God it's raining today, that there's some natural help there. But I begged everybody to help me keep the onions, carrots, Brussels sprouts, kale, greens, and tomatoes alive, because they've been in the dirt for approximately 48 hours. And I'm like, if they die, a week and a half in, and it's barely April. Bad. Yeah, it's not good. So, we'll report back on how the group project does. I hope that Jack, Emily, and Audrey help keep my plants alive, or else
if they're dead, we'll hold them up on camera next.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Perfect.
And then also, if any irrigation companies are looking to sponsor Countercurrent in Aaron's yard,
I will take it. I need all the help I can get. It's horrible. I just I don't have a green thumb. I'm horribly allergic to poison ivy. Everybody heard the chainsaw story last week. Like, I just have no luck at all. And I don't have a lot of patience either. And so to plant something in the ground and let it grow is just something that is not natural to me at all. I want to see instant gratification.
A couple of years ago, my parents went on a big trip, and it was my job to water the plants while they were gone. They were gone for 3 weeks.
So that's a make or break.
Right. Yeah. So I water all the plants on the porches. And totally forgot about the raised garden beds.
Good.
Because they're kind of out there.
Yep.
And they were like thriving.
Did you really forget about it, or was it that far out?
I genuinely forgot about it.
Okay.
But they got back, and I think they didn't even tell me for a few weeks. And then my mom's like, "Well, the garden's dead."
And it's your fault.
And I was like, "Was I supposed to do that?" She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Your stepdad was pretty crushed about it, actually." It's like his pet project. So, that felt awful. So I won't kill Katie. Your plants.
Yeah.
I have learned my lesson. And if I do kill your plants, I'll pin it on Audrey.
I mean, at this point, it's really hard to get, like, they're in a box right over here. All you have to do is like take it to the sink. So we're going to inspire the team in this group project to lead.
Yeah, there might be some managing as well.
Yeah,
there might be a text reminder.
Yes, there will be. Yes.
Yeah. So perfect. That's awesome. Well, today we're going to talk about vision, vision for companies, vision for life.
Yep.
Why don't you kick us off?
When it goes downhill, I thought about this topic because as everybody knows, I get the paper version of the Wall Street Journal every morning. And there's tons of stories every day about companies that are doing a really good job and companies that are doing a bad job. Some of them it's very clear what their vision is. Some companies don't have a very clear vision on the other side of it. And then there are companies that I think have a clear vision, but then along the way, they let it fall. And so the example that's in the news right now is Southwest Airlines. When Bronwyn and I first got married, we got a Southwest credit card because we were living in DC. We were flying back and forth to Indiana. We always flew Southwest out of BWI, and so we were like, it's great, we can get points. And so we really liked Southwest. It was easy, but also I kind of thrive in the chaos of picking your own seat. Like I love it. You stand in line to get on the airplane, and that is like primal human activity. People are cutthroat. That's the only instance that I can think of where you like see somebody that's in a wheelchair next to you, and you're like, oh, I can beat them.
I can outrun them.
I'm gonna get on the plane first.
Yep.
And it's stupid because you get on the plane and you just end up sitting there. But it's like the scarcity mentality. You're like, I'm not gonna have space for my bag. Like you suddenly start thinking through all these things.
And then you have to jam your knee in the seat in front of you, so they don't lean back at all costs.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, again, like every ounce of polite behavior that you have just goes out the window the minute that you get into the terminal. So anyways, we loved Southwest because you could pick your seats. It was your place in line was rewarded by how quickly you got online to check in once your 24 hours hit. And then
survival of the fittest.
Yeah, survival of the fittest. Then 2 bags fly free, right? So like when you're looking at all of these other airline options, there were multiple ways that Southwest stood out. I remember back, this was like in the advent of Twitter and Instagram. I always thought it was really interesting that people would grab the videos of the flight attendants as they were doing their little spiels. And Southwest were the ones that were always like, they were having fun with it. Right. So it just seemed like a fun airline when all these other airlines were very scripted in all of the ways that they interacted. Southwest was different. And I looked into it a little bit, and to me, it seems like it went back to their origin story. So the CEO of Southwest said, if we create a great environment for our staff, they will create a great environment for our customers, and that will create a great environment for our stockholders. And to me, somewhere along the line,
that's great, yeah,
that has completely flipped. And now they are stockholders first, customers second, and staff third. And I mean, recently you've seen that no longer is it the case that 2 bags fly free. You cannot pick your seat on the airline. Now they're just like any other airline where you pick a seat and you get on the plane. And I don't think they're having fun anymore, right? When the staff felt like the ability to call their own shots, you know, and have their own autonomy, I think it created that fun environment, and I think it's completely flipped now. And
started managing.
Yes. That's actually a good tie-in. I think they did start managing instead of leading. And so now you're at the case where you go online and you see that there are people that were very loyal Southwest flyers have completely left that loyalty. Now they're going to go fly somewhere else.
To their Delta Sky Lounge.
Yes, right. Yeah. Exactly. And so I just think, to me, that's a great example of vision that has gone awry.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's really good. I know some people that have flown Southwest their whole life because they were dependent on the 2 bags fly free. They love that. And I did not realize that was no more. Well, this is a great opportunity to share that Spirit Airlines is still the only commercial airliner that has not had a crash in its company's history.
Isn't that saying something?
That's wild.
When Spirit is the one that's holding up the...
Yeah. So Fly Spirit and Frontier. No, that's crazy. Well, and I was telling you, there's another story with British Airways. They were trying to go from a local sort of regional airline to becoming a global brand. And this came in twofold. It was a leadership and management training change, and then it was a rebranding. And they went through this process, and they put sort of like globally inspired and different ethnic paintings on the back of their plane tails and stuff, which everybody got mad at them for because they're like, you're British Airways, put the Union Jack up there and be done with it. But the leadership changes they made resulted in, still arguably, they're rated as having some of the best customer service in the industry. So although the rebranding didn't work, the culture changes made the biggest impact on the brand. And in many ways, it did rebrand themselves. And now they're one of the largest international flyers. And I thought that was so interesting, right? Because changing your brand doesn't always mean changing your brand. It means changing how customers interact with you, and figuring out how to make that process the easiest. And I think it's the Ritz-Carlton that they have an amount, like every day, everybody on the team has an amount they're allowed to spend to make the customer's experience better. So if people ask for anything, I think it's like $2,000 or something. So if anybody asks for anything and they seem to have a hiccup, the customer has a hiccup, don't try to prove them wrong or that they messed up. Just say, we'll absolutely take care of that for you. And sometimes that means taking their dog out, and sometimes that means giving them an extra night free. Sometimes that means giving them a room upgrade because they insist that they booked a different room, and just taking care of it. And then everyone always comes back. And I might be getting the hotel wrong, but it's one of those. And I was like, that's awesome. They're just empowering their people. Don't go find your manager and then wait for approval and have the person stand in the lobby for an hour. Just get it done.
So a few episodes back, we talked about how the customer isn't always right, but I guess they proved that it can be if you build it into your brand, right? That's what you want to do. I think there is benefit to that because it does build loyalty.
Right. That's interesting. Well, and I think that's their whole thing is don't try to prove the customer wrong, even if they are. Just take care of it. And guess what? They'll come back and like you more than ever. And they'll probably realize what they need to do next time along the way. And then another cool one was Airbnb. It's a great story with great vision. It was a few guys in 2007 who said, gosh, I wish we could just crash on somebody's couch. I think they went to the Super Bowl, I think.
I think it was the convention. Wasn't it the DNC in Denver?
I think you're right. Yeah.
If I remember right. Because, it was right around all of the... I remember it was during... Jack was like 2. I was in high school. I remember it like being all around that market crash.
Yeah.
That was right when I was getting ready to leave high school, going to college. And the whole world was like flipping on its head.
Yeah. But the idea was, hey, can we rent our mattress out to people? Mm-hmm. People can stay there. And a lot of investors passed on the deal.
A lot of them. Like, I remember reading the story.
Huge name VCs that are now, they're invested.
Kicking themselves.
Right. And these were the people that they all said yes to Uber and they all said no to Airbnb. Yep. And either way, if you said yes to one of them, you're probably fine. But they were all like, this is a huge security concern. You're going to get a bunch of people murdered and a bunch of creeps. Mm-hmm. And now look at it.
Which might be true in some cases.
It might be true, yeah. But
the broad vision, for
hugely
sure.
successful. And now they have competitors. Now they have VRBO. And I mean, it's kind of a two-pronged competitor. But no, I think that vision, right? It's so odd to say, hey, let's let strangers stay in our house. Mm-hmm. But they just were looking for budget-friendly options that weren't a hotel.
Well, I think that's where I've seen a lot of businesses struggle when they are trying to set that vision, right? They make it too complex. Mm-hmm. For Airbnb, it's like, we want to revolutionize the way that hotels work, and we want to, capitalize on what assets other people have, right? Like, so if you want to rent out your house, you can rent out your house. It's really easy for somebody to understand.
Yeah.
Same thing with Southwest, or initially, when it was like, we want to make the flying experience fun. I think especially after post 9/11, it was probably really hard to make the flying experience fun and easy again. And so for them, they were able to do it. And I think I struggle sometimes with, there are companies that you and I can both probably think of that they set a vision and don't allow any flexibility in it whatsoever. And I don't think that's the answer either. No. I know that that's easy to say, but there are some legacy companies out there that I think run the risk of becoming obsolete by not adapting their vision or what they're doing to the current day. But I think there's such a fine line that you have to maintain.
Yeah. Well, and then I think there's companies that, for better or worse, make the decision to completely change their vision. Mm-hmm. And Jag, British car company, recently did this. They rebranded through sort of all of their legacy branding, all of their legacy car design. And I've seen some business people talk about it, and they said what Jag and general consumers don't understand is when they launched this, they were prepared to lose 90% of their customer base.
That's wild.
Because their old model hasn't really been working for them.
Yep.
They haven't been making a bunch of money or producing that many cars or having that great of sales. And they're going to throw all that away and say, we're going to make a 10th or 100th of the cars, and they're all going to cost $200,000. And we're going to appeal to the uber luxury brand and use the name that everybody knows to do it, while also throwing away everything that's behind the name.
That's why I love logos and hate logos, because if you do that, I think that 10% that you're still going to get still probably wants that old logo. Because I saw the new logo actually this morning when I was scrolling, and it's horrible.
So bad.
It's absolutely horrible. And there are many reasons why I think that you could pick it apart, and everybody loves a good armchair quarterback. But I just think, even if that is your goal, okay, figure out how to implement it without sacrificing your brand and vision too.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think it just disappointed a lot of people. Well, especially in the UK, because it's a company of national pride.
Yes.
And now you're kind of throwing that out the window. And there's no just sedan you can go buy if you've been successful at work. You can't get your Rolex and your Jag now.
Yep.
Because that car is going to cost $300,000, and it's just going to be like a photo op for Drake or whoever else. Because it comes in pink and blue.
Yeah.
Bright.
Yeah.
So I thought that was an interesting bet. We'll see if it works out.
I've noticed over the past 5-8 years as legacy media has tried to adapt to a more tech environment, right? Where everybody loves playing games, and so they've brought that into the experience through your apps, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's one way to pull people in. I've been really intrigued that I think both the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times both have opinion accounts on Instagram, right? So then it's not only can you read it, but then you can listen to the author,
watch it, interact,
say it. And I'm like, that's a really intriguing way to keep, the ethos of what you stand for, but change and I don't think that's necessarily changing the vision, but it's changing the way that your customers consume the content. But I think it helps build that loyalty.
Yeah. Well, and I think at the end of the day, giving the consumer more options is reaching a larger consumer, especially in the media world. And I heard Megyn Kelly was doing an interview on, do you think you could go back to Fox and do your current show in the same format? And she said, yes, but I don't think that's the way forward. And I thought that was so interesting because more and more people are saying that. And I think that's why you're also seeing like primetime anchors leaving their shows, is give it 2 months or whenever their non-compete is up and watch their own show come out. The Don Lemon Show or Megyn Kelly or Tucker leaving Fox. Like the biggest names are leaving places. And it's just a matter of time, I think, before George Stephanopoulos is on that boat too. And all these people. And I think that it's hugely important. Like Conan O'Brien is probably bigger with young people than he's ever been. Because Team Coco and the podcast they put out. And now, do you think Conan ever thought he'd get invited back to host the Oscars? Probably not. And now he's doing it again next year. Because he embraced new media.
Well, and I mean, I remember when he got canned after taking over for Jay Leno. Right. That was, some people could have said that was the end of his career. Right? But he continued to try and figure out, like, okay, how do I rebrand and leverage it to move forward? I think that's the key for him, that's like his own vision for what he wants to be. But whether it's you as an individual or as a company, right? I think you have to figure out how to thread that needle,
because it's adaptability, but it's still the same vision. Like for Conan, it's the same vision. I'm going to be a large media personality with an emphasis on comedy or whatever that looks like. And he can do that in an interview where Conan O'Brien needs friends and he talks to people that he wishes were his friend, or he travels the world and does a travel show. He can do the same thing. And I think that's kind of a prime example of adapting to where people are at.
I think it's interesting. Before this conversation, and this may be stupid of me, I never really correlated the idea of loyalty with vision, right? How customer loyalty can be built by really pursuing that vision. There was an example that I remember seeing recently where the dog food brand Chewy, you can get your food automatically sent to you, right? And I mean, we don't get ours through Chewy, but we get our food delivered to us every few weeks. And then it is great because then you don't have to think about it. It's all automated. But I love the story that they tell where if your dog dies, right? The last thing you remember to do is cancel the automatic food order. And so when you go in to do that, Chewy has it set up to where...
Right, because you just got the food delivered and your dog just died.
Yes.
So you're like, that's my dog's food.
Exactly. Right. And then you're just beside yourself. If you go on and cancel it, they will reimburse you for that round of food, but then they also send you a bouquet of flowers, right, to commemorate your pet. And I think that is so powerful. The amount of money that you spend in food with them over the lifespan of your dog is huge. Like the bouquet of flowers is this much in the grand scheme of things. But when you go out and get a new pet, absolutely, Like they've just built insane loyalty.
You're never going to go anywhere else.
No, they've built insane loyalty with you. And to me, like a company like Chewy, that's their vision, right? We are going to, it'd be interesting to know what their actual vision statement is, but I would say they are trying to come alongside people to raise pets that feel like family. And when you're in that case, then you would come alongside someone when they're grieving. And I think that's a great way to do it. What is there?
To be the most trusted and convenient destination for pet parents and partners everywhere. Yeah.
Right? And so the bouquet of flowers, that absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
I think they said it costs like $40 or $50 for every time it happens. But they said anyone that dog owners are probably going to be dog owners again. And they will always come back to you.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely true.
And so it would be fascinating to know where that origin story is. Like, were they whiteboarding one day and realized like, oh, this could be something that we do? Who pushed back on it in that whiteboard meeting because they're like, the margin's over here. It's going to cost too much to do, and it doesn't align with what we're doing. When really, it's like whoever takes the expansive view on that vision side, they could easily point to the loyalty piece.
Well, we had a similar occurrence happen at Butler. We did a phone-a-thon for my fraternity because we were trying to raise funds for alumni programming. And so we have this old master roster of every alumni's phone number, like back to like they'd be 100. So most of the phone numbers are inactive. Most of the emails are bad. Most of the addresses were wrong. So we're trying to update all that by going through. Well, some of these people we called, a lot of phone numbers were gone. A few people, the wife answered, and the husband had like just died.
Oh.
Yeah. And I wasn't on those calls, but then people were like, Jack, what am I supposed to do? And I was like, say sorry for your loss, and thank you for your time. And but we wound up sending, I think, 2 or 3 families flowers to the funeral because it was about to happen. And I think they wrote letters back saying thank you. And it's just that little thing of knowing where people are at, and if you do call at an inconvenient time, acknowledge it. But then I think they've actually interacted with us multiple times since then.
Well, and even in that case, like, I was always taught, if you're caught in a situation like that you like, tell me something about your husband. Like, what are you gonna miss most? What was your favorite moment? How'd you meet? Did you meet at what was your tie to the Butler? What was your tie to the fraternity? I think that is a moment that you can use to bring connection. Bring them in, and not do it inauthentically, right? There's no necessarily ulterior motive there, but I think that it helps in that case, but then it helps build the brand loyalty too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's what I think everybody handled it really well, but it's one of those things you don't think about. And I'm sure when they started a dog food company, they didn't think, oh, we're going to send the subscription right after the dog dies. I'm sure that was not on their minds at all. Which way to pivot and be flexible.
I think that's one of the important things is figuring out, and you and I have talked about it before, like, how do you get out of your own way to think what are some of the things you can do on the margin to really capitalize on your business? Because I think it's so easy to come in and just check things off the list. But I think there's a danger to that when you could miss out on things like that. There are dog food delivery companies anywhere, right? Tons that could do that. And so why is someone going to go with you? Like, what loyalty are you building to that brand? Whether it's a dog food company, whether it's an airline, whether it's like the work that we do, right? Figuring out how to build that is, I think, one of the hardest things. And in an AI world, right? I think those relationships are going to become even more important.
Do you think that you have a clear vision for your company, or is it still evolving?
I think that it's still evolving. When I set out, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I think over the span of the last 8 to 10 years, I've come to the realization that, like, my vision is that I want to help people solve problems using communications. right? So like there's different modes that we can use to accomplish the goal. But I think what I've realized is that you can't do that if you don't have the personal relationship to help them do it. So I spend a ton of time building relationships with the people that I work with so that I can understand what their goals are and then figure out what I can do on my end to make that happen.
Right.
So to me, it's the relationship first, and then we figure out how to solve the problem second. I think that's only going to become more of a case as AI takes over.
Right. Yeah. Because that's the part you can't replicate.
Yep.
Yeah. And you can use AI as a great tool to help solve that problem. Absolutely. Yeah.
What about you?
I think ours is still evolving.
Yeah.
I think everybody's is. I think we're at a really good spot to make our pitch. And of course we tailor that to who we're talking to.
Yep.
I think everybody does that, because it depends if we're talking to like a corporate client or a political client. But on the political front is where you're outsourced content directors, which means that we take all the content creation off your plate, as much or as little as you want off your plate. And then we partner with your other media vendors to make it seamless and not be gatekeepers. Big on that. Everybody can collaborate. There's plenty of work to go around. So we like to be sort of embedded with the teams.
I think that in that, it's just as important to talk about what you do and then what you don't do, right? Again, like the Southwest piece where they're like, yep, we fly planes, but we don't charge for bags. Or they did. Like, we don't charge for bags. We try and have fun on the plane, and you get to pick your own seat. That's a super clear vision, right? Like, you get to have a lot of fun. Flying's fun again. Great, sign me up.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I haven't given thought to that.
Yeah.
Need to think about
what you don't do.
Right. Well, I mean, we have things we just don't do.
Yes, correct. Yes.
But there's also things that
ways that you don't do it.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, for sure. And we try to be super adaptive of like building everything for every platform every time.
Yep.
That's huge for us is, hey, we want to reach people everywhere you're active online. We're going to go to all those and make sure the content is flexed for that. So we just made a video for somebody that it wasn't super produced, but we're like, this is going to go great on social. And that's what matters here. Because you need people to click the link.
Yep.
And sometimes the prettiest thing doesn't perform the best. Yep. Which is, hurts our brains.
Mind-boggling and frustrating.
But it's true. So, and knowing the place for certain things, on when do you need something really pretty and polished, and when do you need something that's just going to get clicks and be edgy, that's hugely important. And I think, the things we don't do are charge to cut things in different ways. And like when we deliver you content, we deliver it in 3 different ways every time. It's a package. It's not one thing. So
I think those differentiating factors are really important to convey though too.
Yeah.
That's what I've told some of the clients that I've worked with, or potential clients that I want to work with, is there are lots of people out there that can do this for you. Like what I want to do and what my commitment to you would be is that we're going to show up in person and try to understand your problem better than anybody else will. If you show up and you're a partner and you're trying to solve problems for them, you're going to build insane loyalty.
Yeah, and I found that the clients we're able to do that with, collaborate with the most, are the ones that have the most loyalty to us.
Yep.
On, hey, we're going to be flexible with you. We understand that the vision's not entirely there, but we want to help get there. And we've also started to see, hey, all of our clients keep asking for this, but they don't, like a lot of clients ask for raw footage. They don't really know what that means, because that's like, okay, so you want a terabyte hard drive full of stuff that looks kind of black and white because we film it in log. No, they don't want that.
Yes.
So now we throw in, for everyone, we don't charge for it anymore, a B-roll select reel, which is just a whole bunch of nice slow-mo shots, all colored nicely. If you want it on your website banner, great. If you want to put it in other marketing materials, if you want to cut little clips out of it to put on the background of a Canva graphic, you can.
Yep.
Because we realize that everybody wants that, but nobody knows what that really means. So we found the mix. Here's 3 minutes of just footage.
That's really good. Another good vision that I just remembered, this is actually a source of consternation in my own house. I am a huge Long Donuts fan.
Okay.
Love Long's Donuts.
Yes. We should go after this. That sounds incredible.
My wife is from New England. She does not have the emotional tie to Long's Donuts that I do, and it is emotional. It's they have the best donuts, and I'll go to the mat for it. But one of the things that they do is that they still in 2025 are cash only.
Yes,
and that's one of the things that they're known for, right? That you have to bring cash to.
I had to go to the gas station across the street to an ATM.
Right? Like, absolutely. It is harder, but that's one of the first things that I tie to that. And some of it may be nostalgia, right? Like that it is cash only. But I think going in there, it's super simple, right? They have the same types of donuts. You pay cash only for it.
Right.
Everybody's in like all white, which is fascinating in a bakery that they can wear all white like that and not get dirty. But the vision is somewhat unchanged since they started way back when. And I think that's super cool.
I think that is cool. I think there's brands that can get away with that are the brands that have nostalgia to them.
Yep.
Or are like embedded in a community.
Yeah.
Because I think if you were just starting a bakery and you did all those things, people would be like, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
They won't even take Apple Pay.
Yes, right. Yeah.
But since it's a staple.
Yep.
It's like what's the ice cream place that has like 196 flavors or whatever?
Oh,
why am I spacing? Ivanhoe's.
Okay, yeah.
Ivanhoe's, same way. If they only want to take cash, they can. They don't have to do anything. It's an Indiana staple. People drive from all over.
Yeah. Right. Like, and if you look inside too, nothing's changed. It looks like either.
Yeah, it's a hole in the wall, and they don't have to spend money on any of that.
Yep.
Because if anything, it's just going to make people mad.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, but I think that you're probably right on the nostalgia piece. But to me, I think my challenge is figuring out like, okay, what pieces of these visions are critical to the way that those companies exist, and how can I incorporate that into the work that I do?
Right.
Both from a professional standpoint, but also from a personal standpoint too, because I think that there's a personal component there too.
Yeah, I feel like those places kind of build exclusivity in their own way. It's like only the people that know about it need to come here.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to try.
No.
Yeah, people are going to talk about them and they're going to stay busy. And how do you replicate that with a new business or a startup or somebody trying to build that? Like I'm sure Jag is trying to do the same thing, right? They're trying to build exclusivity. Who's going to get their first 10 cars? Yep. They probably care a lot about who's going to get their first 10 cars when they come out. Because it's going to do a lot for them. But meanwhile, Long's Bakery has mastered that, right?
Yes.
There's a reason David Letterman and Caitlin Clark go there when they're filming their Netflix episode.
And to me, like, I won't shut up about it. Like, I talk about Long's Donuts all the time, even when my wife doesn't agree. She tried it. She's like, I think that they're just donuts. And I'm like, that is completely incorrect.
You're immoral for that.
I'm sure that Long's Donuts spends $0 on marketing because they don't have to.
Right.
They're such an established institution. But the cinnamon sugar donut holes are like unlike anything else that you've experienced in your life.
Yeah, I'm gonna pivot here. Do you get upset when good staple places become chains?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because in order to scale, they have to change some of those vision and components that make them unique. What's an example that?
Handel's ice cream.
Yeah.
Is one for me. I don't think it's gotten worse anywhere. I think it's still as good. But I liked the exclusivity of having the one location. And I feel like that's happened. Well, and Rise and Roll used to just be on the south side, another bakery, because my brother lived down there, and he found it, and he made us all go. And then now they have a bunch of them, which is fine. They're still super good. But it makes it feel like you're not in on the secret as much.
Well, and that's it. The American dream, right? If you build a business, is that it scales like crazy.
Right.
So it's something that you want to do. I think of one that collapsed and one that's doing really good. Parlor Donuts is great. They started as just a small donut shop, and I haven't been to the original, but I've been to the one that just opened in Fishers a few months ago, and it's great. Like I love what they do, and to me it seems like the brand is consistent. Although I don't know what the original one was like. I think though, to like a Scotty's, right, that used to be a massive chain, a regional in Indiana. And when that went corporate and he was bought out, I think the vision that he had for it went with him. Yeah. And I think that's why it failed.
Yeah. Well, and there's things like, I think the owner of St. Elmo's just got asked on Nate Spangle's show, will there ever be a second St. Elmo's? And they basically said no.
Yep.
No. St. Elmo's is an institution in Indianapolis, and maybe there will be more 1933 lounges or whatever. Yep. But St. Elmo's is St. Elmo's. And they've looked at going to Vegas, and they looked at going to all these different places. But I think it's just, this is where St. Elmo's is. And I love that approach.
Yep.
No, it's not the most complete, but it's complete focus on one thing.
Yeah, it's not, but it is too, because I think that they've figured out how, like, through the lounge concepts,
right,
and through Harry and Izzy's, how you can still get the jumbo shrimp with the amazing cocktail sauce.
Yeah.
Like how you can get that both in the lounges. My wife and I went to HC Tavern. You know, you can get it there too. It's a different experience, right? It's not St. Elmo's experience. But I think like the level of excellence is still demanded. I think another great example of ones that have scaled so far and have still maintained their identity and their vision is Cake Bake.
Right.
So they started as this little teeny tiny shop in Broad Ripple that you had to make reservations way in advance for. And then they scaled to Carmel, which totally tracks. Right, like same clientele.
Those were the people driving down to Round Ripple,
that completely makes sense. And then if you step foot into the Carmel shop, it looks like a bigger version of the Broad Ripple shop. Their third location is in Disney World.
Right.
Also, tracks, right? Like they want to create a magical experience through baking. I would be interested to see what their vision statement is too. But like, I think that's a great example of one that has scaled. Another great example for those of you out there who have never heard of Cake Bake before. She didn't start that, I think, until she was in her late 40s or 50s. Yeah. Right? And so I think that it goes to show that there's no timeline on what an excellent business entrepreneurship journey can look like. Does that have it in there? If you guys have never been to Cake Bake before, they have like glitter explosions everywhere.
I have actually never been.
Really?
I have had a bite of their cake, and that's it.
It is an experience going in there. Do you know her story?
I think I've heard it.
It's really interesting.
We should try that out.
So she worked in the music industry, I think.
Okay.
And she got let go in 2008. And she had always loved baking. And so she harnessed that, I think she went on a cooking or like a baking show after she got let go. And she found out that she could do it and do it well. And so she just launched from there. What's super interesting about her story though is like, as she was in that process, she leveraged the relationships that she had in her previous career and sent cakes to them so that they would share it with their following, because it's like an Instagrammable moment. You have this piece of glitter cake that looks amazing. It is larger than life. That's the way that she marketed it and was different. And so completely opposite of the Long's Donuts route. She still leaned on the nostalgia piece, because it's like this massive piece of cake, like what you got when you were a kid. And it's this larger than life Rainforest Cafe-esque experience when you walk in, because there's these like huge displays and it's really, really cool. She figured out how to use her previous career to make it fly. And
it's still super exclusive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's hard to get reservations.
Yes.
There's 3 locations. Yeah. That's really interesting. Well, and who else? I feel like when I was growing up, Cheesecake Factory was that way.
Yeah. That's a hot take. Do not get me started on Cheesecake Factory.
Well, because used to, like, you thought the place was so cool.
Yeah.
And now it's just slowly gotten like Red Robin down.
Yes, Red Robin down.
That might be an awful thing to say. No, but really, like it's went to sort of just being like, oh, I'm at the mall.
Yes.
You're going to go get cheesecake. The cheesecake is still outstanding.
Yes.
The rest of the food is fantastic.
Yes.
But the experience has gone down.
Whoever advised Jaguar on their Route 4 needs to go advise Cheesecake Factory. They should just do cheesecakes.
Yeah.
It is, when you have a menu that's this big,
right?
You cannot do all of that well.
It's the Cheesecake Factory Bible.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Right. If you turn to our burritos page.
Yeah. Like, what? Cheesecake, Asian fusion, hamburgers, and burritos. No.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
The buck stopped somewhere.
No.
And it was a long time ago.
Yes.
It was after page 3.
Yes.
Yeah. No, their menu's psychotic. A lot of
But like, what is
that.
their vision? Right? Like Cheesecake Factory. Like that is a great example of a place that has no vision.
I'm sure they have. Let's see if they have one.
This is the most explosive hot take that we've had.
Yeah.
You know, unplanned mid take.
This is the least exciting bit. This should be everyone's mission to create an environment where absolute guest satisfaction is our highest priority. So,
well, yeah, no matter where you go.
Yeah. I guess it doesn't matter what the family's in the mood for. They can all find something.
Yes,
at Cheesecake
right.
Factory.
Like,
I'm gonna have pizza. I'll have the orange
perfect
chicken.
place to bring your toddler, your parent, and someone that's in a nursing home, because everybody can find something that they want here.
Oh, would you like the brunch menu?
Yes.
Looking for eggs? Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, it's true. Their menu's out of hand.
Yes.
Absolutely out of hand.
No, you will not find me in a Cheesecake Factory, and if you do, please report it to the police, because someone.
Or you're just getting cheesecake,
yes.
Right? Yeah, cheesecake carry out.
No, I think that's it's atrocious.
We are gonna get paper served to us by Cheesecake Factory.
Yes, right, exactly.
Yeah, no. So that's vision done poorly. Potentially, I don't know. They've gotten rich off of it.
Clearly, they're doing something right. I don't know. It frustrates me though, because there's no way that's. It is scalable, because they've proved that it is. But if you're bringing on new talent to work in your kitchen, and they have to be cross-trained on every single thing that is
think about
God
the ingredients
created.
you have to order.
Yes. No.
There's no consistency.
No. Which means that stuff is sitting in a freezer. No. Anti-Cheesecake Factory.
Never going again.
Yeah.
Never going again. That's so good. Well, I need to go to Cake Bake, and I don't think. Do we have any exercises this week?
No, that's your exercises. Go eat a piece of cake at Cake Bake.
Aaron will not be here next week.
I will not be. We're going to Florida for spring break, so I will be out of the office for a week. We'll see if my plants survive while I'm gone.
Yes.
The class project.
So hopefully we'll have a special guest next week.
Yeah.
Working on that today.
Yeah, right.
So looking forward to it. Enjoy Florida. We'll take care of your plants.
We'll see.
If we don't, I'll get you a gift card to Lowe's. And that's what we'll do.
Perfect.
Awesome.
See ya.